محمدا عبده ورسوله. طيب, now today inshallah, hopefully we'll finish the first big section of Surah Al Imran, which is mostly about educating the Muslim community about their role, their mission, their environment, the challenges that they're facing, and how best they can deal with it. And so it is more of inspiring, empowering, training, awareness, you name it. Just to make them aware of who they are and what they are facing and how to deal with it. The second part is about the Battle of Uhud. So we're hopefully today if we manage, we will stop there, and which we'll start at the next time, inshallah. The verses that we're going to cover today have some very foundational verses, very, very foundational. And if you are to select very few verses, very short list of foundational verses in Quran, the verses from from 102 to 104. اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Three very foundational verses. Probably they are very good candidate to be some of the most critical verses when it comes to mission and community building, and then of course 109, 110. خير أمة خرجت للناس. So 102 to 104, 3 verses, and then 110, at least part of it, are very foundational verses in our deen altogether and in the Quran. And if we really want to select some or classify or rank, these they come like the top. They will make the top tier of the verses that are really needed to shape the mind of Muslims, because they have the defining mission. In French, and I think it is used in English also, it's the raison d'être, سبب الوجود. And there is nothing more important than that. There is nothing more important than for people to know what's their defining mission, what's their calling, and how to fulfill it. So we're gonna get there, inshallah, but we're gonna go back and start with I think we stopped. Did we stop at 91? If anyone can remember, or 92?
We stopped at 85.
Oh, 85. Oh, okay. Right, let's go to 85. So 86. كيف يهدي الله قوما كفروا بعد إيمانهم وشهدوا أن الرسول حق وجاءهم بينات والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين أولئك جزاؤهم أن عليهم لعنة الله والملائكة والناس أجمعين خالدين فيها لا يخفف عنهم العذاب ولا هم ينظرون إلا. So there is some exception. I mean, the verses from 86 to 91, it's one package. It's talking about one passage, talking about the category of people, and that's some ways the Quran works, is to tell us about categories of people, what they do, and what they should expect. And that's again a confirmation that we should not worry about people. We should focus on ourselves. So كيف يهدي الله قوما كفروا بعد إيمانهم وشهدوا أن الرسول حق وجاءهم بينات. Why would Allah guide people who deny the truth after they have believed and acknowledged it, that the messenger is true, and after they have been shown clear proof. This is more than likely about the Jews of Medina, who knew, actually even the Arab in Mecca, they also know that Prophet Muhammad was a prophet, um, on different grounds. The Arabs in Mecca was because of the man lived among them for 40 years. He was known to be the trustworthy, the honest, Sadiq al-Amin. He never lied to them. That's what they said. They acknowledged, and because of the mastery of the Arabic language, they realized that this is something else that cannot be made up. And then we have the Jews in Medina on a different ground. On their books, they knew, they were expecting it. They were expecting the final message. Just I don't know whether they fooled themselves or they convinced themselves that there's going to be again from Bani Israel. So, and if it did not happen that way, then they rejected it. So why would Allah guide people who realize that this is the truth and then they rejected it? Very self-evident, very logic. Even if you use the logic, why would Allah guide? They knew that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam haqqullah, and Allah la yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin. Allah does not guide the evil doers. Such people, all right, now these people, what's going to happen to them? And then we're going to give us the exceptions, and then different categories of people. So from 86 to 91, it's just describing categories of people and what they are, what is awaiting for them. So these people, of course, if you know the truth and reject it, that's you put yourself in deep trouble. أولئك جزاهم عليهم لعنة الله والملائكة والناس أجمعين. Of course, that's the eloquence of the Quran, but لعنة الله is enough. The curse from such people will be rewarded with rejection. لعنة is طرد من رحمة الله. لما لعنة من Allah, cursed or rejected, it's basically is pushed away or excluded from the mercy of Allah. Rewarded with rejection by Allah, by the angels, and by all people. And so they will remain with no relief or respite. That's very severe. لا يخفف عنهم العذاب ولا هم ينظرون. There is no break, there is no delay, there is no relief, there is no respite. It's a very, very strong language. So will remain with no relief or respite for their suffering. In that state, or probably in hellfire. Now the exception. باب التوبة, the door of repentance is always open. إلا الذين تابوا من بعد ذلك وأصلحوا فإن الله غفور رحيم. And I can read in these verses, Quran is keep telling us, all reminding us that it is none of your business to focus on judging people. Just tell them this. There is a category of people, if they insist on doing this, that's what's awaiting for them. What is our job? Our job is to convey that message and leave it between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's amazing how much Quran emphasized on this, yet we have this tendency by some Muslims, at least, or some Muslim groups, of this judgmental attitude. I don't know where we get it from. So إِلَّا الَّذِينَ تَابُوا, not so those who afterwards repent and mend their ways. Allah is most forgiving and merciful. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always is inviting people to repent and to come back, because that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes and loves for people, is to be saved and to be guided, not the other way around. And our job as believers is to make it easier on people to follow the right path, not the other way around, not to be rude and to push people away. It should be the other way. It should be making it easier for people. And بشروا ولا تنفروا. It's make it easy for people. Of course, make it easy. You don't have to beautify Islam. Islam is beautiful by itself. Just have to understand it, embody it, and articulate it in the right way. So we're not saying that try to compromise or make Islam attractive so that you can attract people. You don't need to do anything Islam. Islam is a winnable case. The only thing that you need to know is not to be a very lousy lawyer. Just show up. Just show up in court the day of, and things will work out. So show up means that you embody this religion, you understand it, you embody it, and you know how to articulate it. That's it. إن الذين كفروا بعد إيمانهم ثم ازدادوا كفرا لن تقبل توبتهم أولئك هم الضالون. These are the people who did not repent and they insisted. So they accepted. They're similar to the first category. First category did not come to Islam at all. First category, they knew the truth, they rejected. These, they know. They embraced it. And then they went back to disbelief. Those who disbelieve and die, no. Although the repentance of those who, having believed, then increase in their disbelief, will not be accepted. Their repentance will not be accepted. These people who insist on their disbelief or play this game of in and out. Of course, we don't know. We don't know what Allah will accept. This is what Allah is saying. We don't know who repented, who was repented in a sincere way and who didn't. We don't know. We have no clue. We just have to convey this message to people who are interested. إن الذين كفروا وماتوا وهم كفار. Now these people, not only they insisted, these are people, they died in that state. فلن يقبل من أحدهم ملء الأرض ذهبا ولو افتدى به. That's very powerful. أولئك لهم عذاب أليم وما لهم من ناصرين. None those who disbelieve and those who they are the ones who have gone astray. That's for the first category. Those who disbelieve and die disbelievers will not be saved even if they offer enough gold to fill the entire earth. Can you imagine? Can you imagine this entire earth? Those of you who have some, I mean, there is some basic knowledge, you know how big the earth is, at 6,000 something radius, kilometers. So if you have enough gold to fill the earth, it will not help you. And that's a very eloquent way to say nothing is going to help you. To fill the entire earth, agonizing torment is in store for them. And then there will be no one to help them. Anybody who finds himself in trouble, you think about these two things always. You can ask, and if you went through any difficult time, we always think about these two. Can I pay something? Is there a way to buy my freedom or get out of this? Or is there somebody to help? These are the two things that come to mind. Quran is saying that no, in this case, even if you have enough gold to fill the earth, is not going to help you in terms of money, and nobody is going to be able to help you, because that's again what comes to mind whenever we are in trouble. Is there a way? Can I buy myself out of this trouble, or buy my way out of this trouble, or can I get someone to help? Quran is saying it's not gonna happen. لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون. Beautiful link here. We're talking about gold. Enough gold to fill the earth. It's not going to help you on the day of judgment. Now we're taking step back. Now, as long as you are in this worldly life, if you want the good pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pay from the things that you like. لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون وما تنفقوا من شيء فإن الله به عليم. None of you believers will attain true piety unless you give out of what you cherish, Whatever you give, Allah knows about it very well. So it's a very nice link. There is a situation on the Day of Judgment where money does not help at all. And there is a situation now where if you want money to help you, spend from things that you like, not the leftover, not the things that you are about to throw them away. So before you throw them away, you just go and donate them. No, spend from the things that you like. لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون. And Allah to encourage us. Quran says وما تنفقوا من شيء فإن الله به عليم. As I said many times, this idea of whenever Quran focuses on Allah knows everything we do and everything about us, it has to play that dual role. It has to make you not worried, but probably alert. It's like a wake-up call. It's being your Allah is watching. We know that when we are, whether we are driving, if you are under the radar, watched by the monitored by the radar, or if you are in a place there is a camera or whatever, that's we become more careful, more alert. So whenever Quran tells us about Allah and His knowledge, is to do these two things. One, to be more alert, and second is to be more motivated, because you wanna live up to the expectation. You wanna show your best because Allah is watching. That's why وَمَا تُنْفِقُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بِعَلِيمٍ. As you are spending, when you remember that Allah is watching, you're probably gonna spend more or spend something, give something better, higher quality. Why? Because before it goes to the other person, you're gonna put it in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Quran in a very eloquent way makes it like a loan. من ذا الذي يقرض الله قرضا حسنا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking for a loan. يعني طبعا in an eloquent linguistic way. It's not like Allah needs it. But so keep that in mind. لن تنالوا البر. The word bir is very powerful word in Islam. It's only 2 letters. Bir. It encapsulates everything that is good. إياكم عليكم بالصدق فإن الصدق يهدي إلى البر. عليكم بالصدق فإن الصدق يهدي إلى البر. Bir, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said you should always be honest and truthful, because that leads to bir, goodness. I don't know if there is any word that encapsulates everything that is good. We're still in this first part. We're still in the debates. We're still in the empowerment. We're still in the raising Muslim awareness, their self-confidence, who they are, what they were, what's their calling, their mission, what are the challenges that they're facing, how to engage their environment, etc. So back to education, because always there are those attacks from left and right about making Muslims doubt their religion. Oh, there is a contradiction in your religion. Oh, there is one time you say this and one time you say that. There is some that they have been under this all the time. Those illiterate who came from Mecca, or the illiterate of the Medina, the Arabs, who had nothing to do with the religion before. They are totally outsiders in this domain. And now they're coming and having a mission and having a message to convey. So they have been attacked left and right, and the background is not very strong. So that's why Quran was revealed to strengthen them, both in terms spiritually and also in terms of knowledge and education. One of the things that was mentioned before is about why Quran comes to make some things that they were haram before for the Jews. So there, you said it's the same message. There is a contradiction here. What's going on? So Quran comes to explain that. كل الطعام كان حلا لبني إسرائيل إلا ما حرم إسرائيل على نفسه من قبل أن تنزل التوراة قل فأتوا بالتوراة فاتلوها إن كنتم صادقين. طيب. The verse translates to, this is an answer, by the way. A lot of time we don't, even though we may not realize, but many of these verses are answering attacks and accusation that was that Muslims faced at that time, except for what Israel, which is Jacob, Yaqub, made unlawful for himself. All food was lawful to the children of Israel before the Torah was revealed. Say to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, bring the Torah and read it out, the relevant passage, if you are telling the truth. So clear answer that these things, the things that were forbidden for the Jews, there are two categories. There is one category that Yaqub himself made another or a pledge to Allah. If that pledge is fulfilled, he's gonna stop eating, I think, the meat of camels or something that was very dear to him. So it's a pledge by himself. And then he implemented whatever went by that pledge. So that's Yaqub حرم على نفسه. So there is no contradiction. And then there is another category which was punishment. So originally everything was lawful. Whatever Quran made lawful was lawful for them before. But there is some food that Yaqub himself, or Israel himself, Jacob, pledged that if he get his wish fulfilled, he will stop eating it, and some was because of punishment. فمن افترى على الله الكذب من بعد ذلك فأولئك هم الظالمون. After you tell them this, whoever insists, don't worry about them. So you again strengthen Muslims. You have the ability to answer. Quran is giving you the tools, giving you the resources, giving you the ways to engage and answer, but also don't kill yourself if they don't accept it. Those who persist in making up lies and attributing them to Allah are the wrongdoers, means neglect them. Don't bother to. قل صدق الله, of course. فاتبعوا ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. قل صدق الله فاتبعوا ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. Prophet, say Allah speaks the truth. So follow Abraham's religion. He had true faith and he was never an idolater. He was an idol worshiper. وصدق الله فاتبعوا ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. This is of course challenge. I mean, for the Jews, they claim they belong to Ibrahim and Ibrahim belongs to them. And here Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is coming and asking people to follow the religion, the true religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. That's embarrassing. That's an embarrassment, and very strong argument that to confirm the succession of messengers, and that whoever one of true follower of Ibrahim alayhi salam should follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and whoever was true follower of Musa alayhi salam or Isa alayhi salam should follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because you're claiming that all of these their roots is Ibrahim alayhi salam. So that's the same thing for this Quran. The second verse also, it's an answer. إن أول بيت وضع للناس للذي ببكة مباركا وهدى للعالمين. This was the issue of Qibla. As you know, Muslims prayed for a while to Jerusalem, and then they were asked to pray to Aqsa Mosque, and then they were asked to switch. So that created a lot of turmoil, trouble. If you were right the first time, then you are wrong this time, and one of them must be wrong. What kind of religion this that keep changing the direction? And so they were subject to all kinds of attacks. And Quran is coming and telling them that Mecca, Kaaba, is the origin. It's the first sacred house. That is, so asking Muslims to go back and pray toward Kaaba is the norm. That was the exception, and part of the reason that we can figure out. For the exception is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want Muslim to be attached to Kaaba because it is something that belongs to their ancestors and the Arabs and the Quraysh and the this, that, but it has to be out of religion. So basically, ask them to pray to Aqsa Mosque for a while and then come back. So when you're coming back, now they're coming back as in response to Allah's commandments, not out of the ancestors' pride. Same thing, by the way, for the qital, fighting, which was forbidden. And that was very strange in the Arab context at that time. Muslims were forbidden, and then they were given the permission. Of course, there is no commandment to fight, and the fighting is not the principle in Islam or nothing. It's there is a permission. Same thing. For one of the reasons is because the Arabs used to fight out of pride and out of show off and bravery. And Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them that whenever if they have to fight, they have to do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for the cause, not for anything else. So so telling them that what are you talking about? Kaaba is the original house, and Ibrahim that you claim you belong to is the one who built it. Basically, you are on the wrong path. You should be following, you should be praying to Kaaba, including the people of the book at the time, or the Jews, should be praying to the Kaaba because you claim that you belong to Ibrahim, and Ibrahim alayhi salam is the one who built the Kaaba. إن أول بيت وضع للناس للذي ببكة مباركا وهدى للعالمين. The first house of worship to be established for mankind was the one at Mecca. It is a blessed place, a source of guidance for all people. Of course, we know the status of the Kaaba. مباركا وهدى للعالمين. فيه آيات بينات مقام إبراهيم. فيه آيات بينات مقام إبراهيم. There are very clear signs that the Kaaba is the one that was built by Ibrahim alayhi salam, including the مقام إبراهيم. ومن دخله كان آمنا. You know that even during even before Islam, the sacred mosque used to be very, very secure. And there are, whoever enters it is safe. There was some agreement between people, and there is a lot of restriction about even hunting. And there are a few months where sacred months, and so it has that special status. Even Aminan, it was Aminan even during the time before Islam. Yeah. ولله على الناس يحج البيت من استطاع إليه. يعني all of this is telling basically this weak argument. What are you talking about? This is a sacred mosque. That's a sacred the mosque. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked believers to pray this way and then to switch. What's the point? What's the problem? Yeah. ولله على الناس يحج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا ومن كفر فإن الله غني عن العالمين. This is very strong language about Hajj in the same verse. So there are, we didn't read. There are clear signs in it, in Kaaba. It is a place where Abraham stood. Whoever enters it is safe. Pilgrimage to the house is a duty owed to Allah. By people who are able to undertake it. Those who reject this, even though the word is kafara, as if you don't take this Hajj pilgrimage seriously, you put yourself in trouble. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ عَنِ الْعَالَمِينَ. Allah is in no, so those who reject this, they should know that Allah has no need of anyone. طيب. ولله على الناس يحج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا. Alhamdulillah, in our community here, it's probably better than many Muslim societies or countries in which the Hajj is only for the elderly, for people who basically after they retire, and for people who maybe have lots of money. And so there is a lot of misconception about this, even though a lot of Muslims everywhere, they love to do Hajj, but I don't think in terms of priority, it is perceived properly. Here, probably things are better. We can see a lot of time young people or middle age, etc., and if they can afford it, they go for Hajj. Maybe also because of the restrictions in many Muslim societies, they have the quota and they have some guidelines that restricts. But bottom line, we have to know that Hajj is a duty like prayer. Make no mistake about it. If you can afford it physically and financially, and afford it financially, you have to be careful. It doesn't mean that because if you're going to wait until you do everything you want to do in life, you will never be able, you will never find yourself in a situation that you can say, I can afford it. But you can afford it without being hurt. We really have to revisit this Hajj thing because it is very serious. One of the pillar. You may try to analyze it, but we shouldn't. It's like prayer. It's something that we are very confident and very certain that it's in our best interest in this life and the hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that, and we should have no doubt. Plus those who experienced it, they say that. Those who experienced Hajj, and especially those who did it the right way, they say that it was a life transforming event. And when they come back different. Of course, especially this is before the time of the social media that is probably now it's disrupting some of the Hajj or the Hajj of some people. But before it was really total dedication. People spend all those days and in total devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So man kafar, calling it kufr, even though it's not really the true kufr. And even the true kufr, I keep saying it, it's not our business to decide who's kafir, who's Muslim. And the true kufr is different than what we have. We have the ones that many Muslims have. It is Islam presented in the best possible way, clear way, the right Islam. And somebody understood it very well and then rejected it. And even if all of this is happening, which it is not happening, even if all these conditions are met, it is still between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not your job to classify the person or even to judge or even to convert. Kafara is very strong. It starts by saying duty and then called as if it is kufr if you don't take it seriously. And then فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. If you think that you're doing Allah a favor by going to Hajj, Allah is in no need for you. That's very strong language that emphasizes the importance of Hajj in 3 different ways. Duty, and then if you rejected it, using the word kafara, that's very strong. And then the word Allah is غَنِيٌّ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. Allah is in no need for you to come to his sacred house if you are not really convinced or you're not excited or you're not motivated. قل يا أهل الكتاب لما تكفرون بآيات الله والله شهيد على ما تعملون. قل يا أهل الكتاب لما تصدون عن سبيل الله من آمن تبغون عوجا وأنتم شهداء وما الله بغافل عما تعملون. طيب. Again, back to the debate, back to educating Muslim and preparing them and empowering them so that and then using this word of people of the book. It's always distinguishing them from the rest just to make it easier for them to come. That's where you belong. Quran in a very nice way, talking to the people of the book. Why do you reject Allah's revelations? Allah witnesses everything you do. Why you reject Allah's revelation and you claim that you are the ones who are the custodian of Allah's revelation, and it came just because it did not come, the messenger did not come from you, you're rejecting it. Wallahu shahidun ala ma ta'malun. Again, shahidun ala ma ta'malun. It has that dual. Allah witnesses. Allah witnesses everything you do. It should have that dual effect. One is you should be very careful and alert. You're dealing with Allah, not with Muhammad and with the community. You can do whatever you want, but you're dealing with Allah. And then also, Allah shahidan amma ta'malun, it's an implicit invitation to encourage them to do the right thing and to take the right decision. Back to قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ again. Say, people of the book, why do you turn the believers away from Allah's path and try to make it crooked? I mean, it's not enough for you to reject it, and then now you want to even turn the believers away from Allah's path and try to make it crooked. So it's not like you did. Is it sufficient? It's bad for you just to reject the truth, and now you are actively working to prevent others from following it. And again, in a beautiful style. Why? Allah, there's no need for anybody to ask why, but why is always, again, trying to just make them reflect and make them wake up. تصدون عن سبيل الله. You find people following the straight path, which you know that it is true one, and you don't follow it, and then you're actively working to lead people astray. وأنتم شهداء. When you yourself should be witnesses to the truth, you should be the ones who are guiding others, because you know that this is the truth. Now you reject, and then you actively trying to lead people, to mislead people. And wallahu wa mallahu bighafilin amma ta'malun. Over there it was wallahu shahidun ala ma ta'malun. Allah witnesses everything you do. Over here it is Allah is not heedless of anything you do. So in a beautiful way, Quran keep emphasizing that fact that Allah is watching, and you're gonna have to be very careful, because at the end of the day, you can say whatever you want to Muhammad ﷺ and to his companions. You can do whatever you want, but you are dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You just have to be careful and have to be aware of this. And then back to the believers. I mean, actually, this is the language that Muslims are taught so that they can use it. They're given tools to engage their environment. And that's why we always say that, I personally always say that this deen is about Amr Ma'ruf wa Nahy Anil Munkar, which is civic engagement. And you're gonna have to be civically aware and know your environment so that you can engage effectively. And you can see how almost half of the surah and a lot of parts of the Quran is doing just that. It's educating Muslim and giving them the tools to engage their environment, because their mission requires engaging the environment. And if you're going to engage the environment, you're going to have to be aware of it. You're going to have to know what are the frequently asked questions, what's going on, what are the challenges that you're going to face, so that you can fulfill your mission effectively. I don't know how all of this faded away and fizzled somewhere, and we don't see it anymore. And we ended up with that very obsolete version of Islam that has none of this. It's about changing, about change, and about reform, which requires engagement. Engagement requires awareness. You're gonna have to be very aware of the environment in which you're working, the culture, the system, the history, the psychology, whatever, so that you know how to effectively. So Quran is spending all of this verses educating Muslims, training them, and empowering them to effectively engage their environment. And after many centuries, people come and drop this mission altogether and drop this engagement, and we ended up with Quran, Islam that calls for isolation, Islam that calls for passiveness, Islam that calls for complacency, accepting everything, no resistance, no advocacy, no change, nothing. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu tuti'u. While you're doing this, you're gonna have to be aware, because you may say all of this and they will not accept. So, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in tuti'u fariqan min alladhina utul kitaba yaruddukum ba'da imanikum kafirin. You engage, but you don't compromise on principles. So Um, do not take your intimates, such outsiders, as spare no efforts to ruin you and want to see you suffer. No. I think we skipped. No. Skipped. No. 100 is what? Oh, you who believe, some of those who were given the scripture would turn you into disbelievers if you were to yield to them. So make sure that you engage, but you're still confident, because they're still, with all of this, they can come up with other tricks. And because historically you felt inferior when it comes to religion and you felt intimidated, make sure that's not the case. You are on a strong footing and strong foundation. You just deliver the message and answer the questions that they're raising about Kaaba, about Ibrahim, about Qibla, about everything. And then try to invite them and tell them why you do this and why, etc. And then after that, you should not allow yourself to be intimidated, or should not allow anybody to shake your self-confidence. وكيف تكفرون وأنتم تتلى عليكم آيات الله وفيكم رسوله. That's warning also for believers. ومن يعتصم بالله فقد هدي إلى صراط مستقيم. So if you allow yourself to be intimidated or misled or confused, you only have yourself to blame. How can you disbelieve when Allah's revelations are being recited to you and his messenger is living among you? Whoever holds fast to Allah will be guided to the straight path. You're gonna have to always have that frame of reference while you're engaging, because as we see, even though I don't know how powerful those campaigns before compared now, maybe now it's even much more powerful, because the tools now of confusion and misleading are much more powerful. But this applies then, applies now. You're gonna have to always have that clear vision and clear frame of reference, and never allow anything to mislead you or confuse you, because you always have the Furqan. You always have the compass, Bawsala, and the scale that never fails. So if you're not sure, go back and check the foundation, the foundational or fundamental principles. That's why يعتصم بالله فقد هدي إلى صراط مستقيم. So you engage, you're gonna face a lot of attacks, a lot of tricks, a lot of dirty campaigns, a lot of intimidating accusations and arguments. You're gonna have to be prepared. You always have to remember the principles you stand for, and never allow your beliefs or your self-confidence to be shaken by any of these things. I don't know if you have enough time. Let me read those verses, and then we're gonna stop at one as usual. These are the three verses that I said I consider them one of the top most foundational verses in the Quran, together with the verse of 109. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون ولتكن منكم أمة يدعون إلى الخير ويأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر وأولئك هم المفلحون. Strongly recommend that everybody spends enough time. Now we're gonna cover them inshallah, but spends enough time and reflect on these verses, and even do research and master them and memorize them and use them in your prayers. They are they are very loaded with the very foundational principles of Islam. You who believe, no, you who believe, but be mindful of Allah. I like be mindful of Allah more than fear Allah for taqwa. Be mindful of Allah as is His due. This is one of the best translation to these verses that I found. As is His due. And as much as Allah deserves to be mindful, which means try to be 24/7. Try to be fully devoted to Allah. And make sure you devote yourselves to Him to your dying moment. وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. The Islam, the true Islam, not the Islam of Arab, not the Islam, the other version that Surah Hujurat talks about. The Islam that you strive to surrender completely and devote everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So your life, it becomes a continuous struggle and strive to surrender completely to Allah. I mean, it can go up and down, 70%, 80%, but your target is always to 100%. قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. You become Rabbani. You become someone who belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hold fast, so that's taqullah haqqa tuqati. And then hold fast to Allah's rope all together. That's unity. So taqwa, unity. Do not split into factions. There is a tremendous emphasis on unity. And inshallah, we'll come back and reflect on these because it tackled from different angles. First of all, it linked it to Iman. Hold fast to Allah's rope all together, which means almost saying that because the verse before says, وَمَنْ يَعْتَصِمْ بِاللَّهِ. So if you hold fast to Allah's rope, if everyone is holding fast, then you're going to be united. Hold fast to Allah's rope all together. Do not split into factions. That's another way to say the importance of unity. And then remember Allah's favor to you. Remember that this unity and this brotherhood, etc., it's a favor, it's a blessing. And it's very precious. You should not take it lightly and you should not any compromise on it. Remember Allah's favor to you who you were enemies. And then He brought your hearts together and you became brothers by His grace. You were enemies. Remember Aus and Khazraj all the times are fighting. The Quraysh fighting with different tribes. All these tribes were fighting all the time. So we may be more focused on Aus and Khazraj, but it can apply all the time. And some tafsir, they say this because of some incident where the Aus and Khazraj remembered the old days and they were about to have a dispute or conflict or even fight. And the Rasul was very mad at them. Maybe this verse is related to that. So you were, He brought your hearts together and you became brothers by His grace. By the way, that's unthinkable at that time. Someone from Aus and Khazraj become brothers again. We may take it for granted now, but that's a miracle. You were about to fall into a split of fire, into a pit of fire. You were about to fall into a pit of fire. A very eloquent description that you were about to fall and Allah saved you. And He saved you from it. In this way, Allah makes His revelation clear to you so that you may be rightly guided. You can see how long the emphasis on unity, because that mission of believers can never be fulfilled without the taqwa of the individual and the unity of the community. So it's taken us step by step. Everyone has to take care of himself or herself. That's the taqwa. You do that, become united, because united by the belief, united by the Allah's rope, united by the common cause or mission. And then comes, if you do that, then you can fulfill the mission. وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ. Be a community that calls for what is good, urges what is right, and forbids what is wrong. Those who do this, like in Surah Al-Hujurat says, these are the true believers. Here says, those who do this are the successful ones. إنما المؤمنون الذين آمنوا بالله ورسوله ثم لم يرتابوا وجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم في سبيل الله أولئك هم الصادقون. إنما. So in Surah Al-Hujurat says, the people who meet these criteria are the true believers. Here says these are the ones who are successful. So we started it. Time is up. I'm gonna stop unless we get some extra time. We can come back, but these verses, they require a lot of time to reflect, because we're talking about individual responsibility and mission. We're talking about community building. We're talking about defining mission of believers. This is one of the verses in which the defining mission is mentioned, like the verse we're going to see in 110. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت الناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. The verse in سورة الحج الذين مكناهم في الأرض أقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأمروا بالمعروف ونهوا عن المنكر. The verse in سورة التوبة والمؤمنون والمؤمنات بعضهم أولياء بعض يأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر. So we have few verses that spell out the defining mission in terms of Amr Ma'ruf and Munkar, because the mission was mentioned sometimes in terms of Islah, reform, A'mar, in terms of being Khalifa of Allah on earth, be witnesses, standing out for justice. All of these are description of our mission. But the part that presented it as Amr Ma'ruf and Nahy Munkar was in a few verses, and this is one of them. All right, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Anushi.
Alaikum salam.
So I have a comment about the verses we read. A lot of them show guidance as to what is happening around you, what is the intention of those people around you to the Muslim community, so that they become aware of the plots against them to weaken their iman, and the type of people around them. I sometimes, find myself, if I know a person, and I'm a person who has good judgment. If I know a person is got certain bad tendencies, whether they're Muslim, Christian, or Jews, or whoever, I tend to give my friends, hey, the heads up. By the way, this person is this way, and that person is that way. Now, my intention is to make them aware, give them guidance, and sometimes you have people that jump in and say, oh, that's considered mariba. Well, from my standpoint, it is not. It is considered, giving someone guidance and raising their awareness so that they're not misled. So what do you think about that?
I don't know specific. These things have specifics, but Ghiba, it's basically everything, of course, goes back to the intention, but try to go by this guideline. Anything that you cannot say in the front of the person, try not to say it in their back. That's one thing. And second, try to limit this testimony or shahada to the absolute minimum necessary. So let's not abuse it or expand it. Like, for example, in cases of marriages or cases of, something and people are about to be misled by a person, especially if they ask you, but even if they don't, But again, you're gonna have to be very careful because you enter a very delicate place. You should not allow anything personal to be involved. You should try to make sure that your intention is really pure, that you don't basically inject something of opinion, or because you had some issues with that person, or because you biased against or for. Try to limit. First of all, try not to say anything in the person's absence that you cannot say it in their presence, or that bothers them if they hear it, because that's the definition of backbiting. Limit means absolute necessity. It's like lying. Lying, it's the same thing. I mean, lying, unfortunately, many Muslims now, they abused, etc. But I mean, it's not إلا من أكره وقلبه مطمئن بالإيمان. I mean, it's like drinking alcoholic beverages or eating dead meat or pork. All of these are necessities, and ضرورة تقدر بقدرها. You do the part that is absolutely necessary, and then make sure that your intention is pure and do not get any bias involved. It's just giving guidance or making someone aware, and that's it. So nobody can judge it except yourself. But always keep in mind that these things should be taken as necessity, and necessity should be done at the absolute minimum. ضرورة تقدر بقدرها. And then if you want to go to even more drastic solutions, for us is فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت. يعني the more you keep quiet, all of us, the more we keep quiet, the safer we are, the better we are. Because
Dr. Anushi, I want to give you an example.
Mhm.
I think it's practical. So specific example where this came up is a friend of mine. He's a mechanic, car mechanic. He's mashallah, very honest and is hardworking. So I found out he told me, I plan to work with such and such. He's got a dealership, such and such person. So I knew that person to be, the way I phrased it to my friend was like, that person is a little bit difficult. Just, be careful and watch out for, red flags, something squirrely. So I was like, good luck, just, that person is a little bit difficult. And I think I said, use the word squirrely. So he said, okay, inshallah khair. So he began working with this brother who happens to be, also Muslim. And my friend has a state inspection license. So he's able to inspect cars and certify them as, inspected and pass inspection here in Virginia. So what he found out was happening later on within, a month, and is that after he certifies cars, what this car dealership owner would do is go into those cars, replace parts, move good parts from those cars to other non-certified cars, that are not, basically have not passed inspection. And he began to have, a lot of problems with that. So I think within 6 weeks, he quit. And he's like, you did tell me this guy was difficult, and this is what he did. And I just started to shake my head, and as to the level that this brother who owns his dealership, the way he was behaving.
I mean, I got it. I mean, I think you if you told them, you did the right thing. And sometimes you can tell people your recommendation without even getting into details, unless they ask for it. I guess because the nasiha is the right of people on us. So if you come and say, I don't recommend that you do business with this person, that's it. Now, if they ask for specific, you can tell them. Try to stick to the facts. What I know is 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to steer away from opinions and bias. What I know, what I heard, or whatever, that there was some bad experiences of people before, or that the guy is not really straight, whatever you know or whatever you heard, and then you leave it for him. You made your recommendation, you give him some hints, and then leave it for him. So that's basically, yeah. All right, any other questions or comments?
Yes, Dr. Suhail, I have Surah Al Imran is one. It's of course Quran all is great, but this surah has a different effect on myself. I have different experience with it. I mean, I always repeat it on when I drive. I listen to it several times. But today I want to comment about لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون. So this ayah, it has like levels. You can spend money to unfiq, but it's not just spending money. So it's going deeper. So in our life, we have to be like not to accept the minimum. We have to go to the maximum sometimes. So infaq is infaq, but if you infaq from what you love, it's different. Same thing when if you do if you work on yourself, you can just do the minimum, pray the 5 times or do siyam. But if you want to be more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can do more. You can work in the community, you can read, you can educate yourself, you can talk to other people about how to improve the community or the ummah or the nation. So we should not be the minimum Muslims, so everything is okay and I'm happy. No, we should not be happy about ourselves, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not giving us the certificate, which is al-birr, unless we do more and more. We keep trying to reach the maximum or the highest level that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us.
It's very true. Very true, and you can see it in. It started with لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون, basically pushing us to do more and to do better and to do the maximum. And then حق تقاته. This, inshallah, we'll come back and reflect on this. That these حق was mentioned in 2 places at least. حق تقاته in Ali Imran and حق جهاده in Surah Hajj. You can encapsulate the whole Islam mission in these 4 words. Yeah, it's حق تقاته, which means striving all the time to be completely devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by doing more, by improving, by pushing yourself and pushing your limits, etc. That's the taqwa. And then حق jihad is striving also to do your utmost to advance the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make, which is making this world a better place, more just, more prosperous and more secure and more virtuous, etc. The maqasid of Islam. So right, it's this culture of looking for the minimum. It's one of the things that have to be uprooted from the Muslims' mindset, because it's very bad. Yeah, it's affecting us not only in matter of religion, but even in this world. I mean, we're settling for the minimum. The people have a lot of potential, but their dreams or their objectives in life are very low. And then as soon as they achieve them, they become very complacent. We're gonna have to revive and raise a generation of people who have very high aspirations, and they don't settle for anything less than that. And we instill in their minds very high dreams early on, so that keeps them motivated all their life to achieve them. And on Friday we do interviews for candidates for the pre-med program. Every time we do this, people come like 23-year-old, 24, 25. They achieved so much in their lives. You wish that this kind of culture would be widespread among Muslims here and Muslims everywhere, to start thinking and having this mindset that will not settle for anything. It's not like you have a degree and job and whatever, you purchase the house and that's it. I'm done. So yeah, even though our religion teaches us exactly the opposite. It's basically teaches us to keep always aiming high and striving to achieve those high goals just by assigning us this humongous mission. And these are very great, noble goals, maqasid of Islam, that will never allow you to be, that will make you restless all your life, and in a positive way. It's not restless means stressed out, restless because you are excited about what you are, passionate about what you're doing.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Suhail.
Allah.
Thank you for bringing the point of building our communities and looking at the verse وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. I think one of our weakness is this unity in the Ummah, and the way we keep we have lost trust in one another, in our scholars, and sometimes as we see like the breakdown in our families and all that. So like you said, if we want to build those skills, those agencies in ourselves and in our young ones especially, but when we also see where we are, the issues that until now we are still struggling to face, to come up with very effective means of building a healthy societies, and that we can grow up being confident in our deen and in bringing effective social changes and prosperity. So it starts with leadership, as you said, and role modeling and inspiration. And this is very hard to see, like the young ones are not finding mentorship and not having this connection, unlike other communities, like when you see the Christians maybe and the Jews who have established their centers for mentorship and all that. So I think you always bring up this issue of building communities. So how are we going to really handle this issue if we are still here? We come up with a lot of, mashallah, a lot of these centers, but what is still dragging behind? Why are we still not having that? Because a lot of us have this passion. Maybe we want to get into society, to help, to discover ourselves, but sometimes because you are not brought up in a culture that harness those skills, and then you go to a center that you don't feel belonging, so you end up not participating or not fully engaging and not fully discovering yourself. And it takes one person and another, and eventually we are losing this human capital. And so like we need people who can feel confident or just in ourselves to feel that, so we can go out, so we need that environment. So how do we come out and or how do we hold our leaders? Maybe our leaders are also not aware of this, that there are young people who want to come out, but they don't feel welcome, they don't feel so like where do we start? Because this will go on and we keep blaming each other, and but in the end, it's 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 this that keeps us drug behind. So I don't know if you get my point.
Yeah, got it.
Shukran, Jazakallah.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. There is no easy answer for this. Now we're talking about there is a paradigm that has crumbled. Islam is a paradigm, very intertwined. Its pieces are very intertwined and centered around these two or three things that I keep mentioning, which is there is the Tawheed, the true Tawheed, the mission, and the maqasid. These are the foundation on which are the pillars, not the pillars in fiqhi way, the foundations upon which this paradigm is built. That there is a relationship with Allah in which you are pledging and dedicating yourself. And I can put in one sentence, very simple. You come to Islam, you are pledging yourself, or you're pledging to dedicate yourself and your life to Allah and to His cause, meaning to understand and fulfill Allah's purpose, which is the maqasid, in pursuit of His pleasure. And that's what it is. And I wish we just keep introducing Islam like this without any complication. That you explain Allah to people and the creator of everything, and the one, the by definition, God can only be one. And then you say that the message is basically you're being invited to pledge to dedicate yourself and your life to Allah and to His cause. Meaning what? Meaning that you're going to be living for Allah and His cause. Meaning what? Meaning you're going to dedicate your life to try to understand and fulfill not your desire, not what you like, but Allah's purpose. That's the meaning of abd. You become Rabbani, you become servant of Allah. Meaning that you surrender your own will to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now when I understand what is my mission, and when I understand what are the goals, and they want to have that figure out and conceive and comprehend the plan of Allah, because I'm the one who's going to execute it. And I was given the responsibility and the honor, because Allah is in no need for our efforts, but gave us the responsibility and the honor to figure out that plan, Allah's plan, and to make it happen. Allah's plan, meaning in this world at large, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see it. And then you keep going, reducing the circles until you get to yourself. Of course, as you reduce the circle, your responsibility increases. I mean, there is not much you can do in the whole world, but then goes back to the country, and then the state, and then the city, and then the community or the family, and then your network, and then yourself. That's where responsibility becomes 100%. When it reaches yourself and your family is very close to 100%, etc. But as the circle is widening, you become just contributor. Try to maximize your contribution to execute the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In order to execute the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to understand it. In order to understand the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala very well. One, so that you can understand His purpose and His plan. And two, so that you can have the energy and the motivation and to fulfill this humongous mission, because this mission cannot be fulfilled except if you start worshiping Allah out of love and out of gratitude. The energy that comes from worshiping Allah out of fear, that barely will be enough for you to do the fara'id and to stay away from the kabair. That's barely. But this, and we probably did not experience it, because even this issue of love in our societies became like a taboo in our communities. We don't talk about it. Even between parents and children, sometimes there are very weird behavior, and people are, I don't know, are They don't show their love in an open way, and then you're very reserved, and between spouses and between with children and with it's part of the mess. Yeah, but let's leave all of this. Let's go to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That comes out of knowing Allah. So bottom line, it comes to what? The day you commit to this religion, the day you start that journey of understanding, getting to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more, understanding your mission, understanding the profile that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to match, so that you keep always making adjustment to match that profile, understanding the word as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see it, so that you know how to maximize your contribution to make the world closer and closer. It's not your responsibility to the whole world, but make it closer and closer. In uridu illa islaha mastata'at. I only desire to make this world a better place as much as possible, to the best of my abilities. So where are we from here? None. I mean, we cannot talk about unity. As you can see in the verses, unity was boxed or sandwiched between taqwa, tawheed, taqwa, and the mission. وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ. And it was sandwiched in between. Basically, almost is telling us that don't think about unity if these are not there. If people's taqwa is shaky and their commitment to their mission is lukewarm, there will be no unity. There will be no unity. There will be no leadership. There will be no tazkiyah. There will be, all of these will crumble. The moment you remove the mission, the moment you remove those three items, foundational items, mission, tawheed, mission, maqasid, the moment these become weak, the whole paradigm will crumble. And then everybody will take some pieces out of it. That's what we're doing. We took salah. We're not arguing about it, even though some Muslims are arguing. We took fasting. We took some bits and pieces, the Islam of convenience, not the Islam of commitment. We took some pieces and we said, this is Islam. And we're happy with that. I don't need to study. I don't need to push myself. I don't need to do more or to learn more, because I think what I have is enough, is good enough, because this will prevent me from being thrown in hellfire. It's a very messy. I hope we realize how bad it is. Now, regardless of how bad it is, it can be easily fixed if we just accept the diagnosis that the version of Islam that we ended up with, it's not the true one. It's not the original. Make no mistake about it. Like jewelry, that's not authentic. It's not like we have a different religion or we worship in a different way or we pray in a different way, but it is not the package that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was promoting. It's that package after mutilation and deformation, and things were removed and things were added and small things were blown out of proportion and big things were reduced to the side. It's a very messy version that we ended up with. That's why, even though our Islam looks exactly like the Islam of the companions when it comes how we worship and fast, etc., but the result, you can see the difference. It's a huge difference. It's few hundred people were able to change the world in one generation, and you have 1.5 billion who are irrelevant.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Anushi. It's a good summary. Encapsulates everything.
Okay, if you have no more questions, then we can.
I have another question.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's on the verse of sorry, I forgot the verse. It speaks about the la'natullahi wal malaikatu wan nas ajma'in. I think you talked about that verse, and I remember watching YouTube. One person asked that if you speak about tolerance in Islam and there's no compulsion, why is it that for someone who is not ready to accept the deen, the Quran speaks so like harshly to people who are not ready to, even if you
Wallahi,
find yeah, so something like even if you think maybe there's some truth in Islam, but you're not ready or you don't believe in it, why would you face such harsh judgment from God?
Wallahi, this is, first of all, this, if we limit ourselves to just conveying the message, then if somebody say this is very harsh, we tell them it's between you and your creator. We're just mailman. We just delivered. We told you that your creator is telling you that if you know the truth and reject it, that's what's going to happen. You want to complain, you can go whatever. You want to argue or complain, but for us, that's our job is done there. When it becomes a problem, when we take the law in our hand and say, no, if you're not accepting, then let's see what can we do, what should we do for you? Now that's a problem. That's the line that we should never cross. As long you are saying it as is. Why it's between you and your creator. You want to now find out, or you want to wait until the day of judgment and ask him? It's your decision. For me, the responsibility ends here. My responsibility ends here. I told you that your creator is telling you that if you know the truth and you reject it and you insist on that, that's what's going to happen to you. You consider this is harsh, you can complain or you can appeal or do whatever you want. But for me, don't talk to me about it, because I personally took that warning and I'm avoiding that problem, that trap. You go in that way, that's your decision, but that should not affect your relationship with people, with those people, our relationship with those people, and should not turn us into judges, because that's the problem. As long as we cross that line, we are not responsible to justify what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling people and try to say, no, it is not harsh, but you should, no, just say it as is. But not you harsh on people. The problem that we have seen, people being slaughtered and people being, run over by trucks just because they chose not to accept Islam. That's the problem. That's where we cross the line, and but as long as you're telling people, and Quran is very clear, every time comes these kind of verses, always say this category of people, that's what is awaiting for them. It's telling the Prophet ﷺ basically, just convey this and it ends there.
Jazakallah khair.
Wayakum inshallah.
Dr. Anushi, someone sent a question to you privately. Can you look at your chat session?
Let's see here. What is chat? Which one?
Sister
I don't
Amir,
know. I don't
Sister
know
Amir.
the question. If that person can send it again.
Can she text me or he? Can you give them my number? Let's the text and I will deal with it, inshallah.
Okay, sure.
Inshallah.
Sure.
Okay. Jazakumullah khair, brothers, sisters. And inshallah, we'll see you next Sunday, inshallah.
All right. See you everyone, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Rahmatullah.